Okay, so I watched this presidential shit show debate, and I just wanted to let you guys know I won state in debate in Texas, meaning all of Texas, in cross-examination debate, which is a pretty big deal in high school, my senior year. And I analyzed the entire debate, the Trump-Kamala debate, and here are my recommendations. And just before anybody gets after me, I'm not an advocate of either candidate. I think any candidate that is in office should honestly forego any salary and should be doing it for the people and not be taking a profit. But let's get into it. First of all, when you notice, Kamala says this triplicate sentence over and over and over again. The ambitions, the hopes, and the American people. This is her way of dumbing it down instead of saying, like she's a really good speaker. But if you notice, she says it over and over and over again. And it's when she doesn't know what to say, when she's trying to think of something to say, she'll say the hopes and the dreams of the American people. So she's also faced a lot of ethical scrutiny related to her approach to financial practices and relationships with powerful industries. During her time as an attorney general, she opted not to prosecute Steve from One West Bank, which was widely regarded as predatory foreclosure practices during the, I think it was 2008 financial crisis. And while Munich Bank or whatever faced allegations of wrongful foreclosures, including on the homes of vulnerable populations such as elderly homeowners, she chose not to move forward with legal action. Her decision reflected as ethically questionable given the bank's role in exacerbating the housing situation and housing crisis. So, additionally, she received donations from Munchkin, or however you say it, during her Senate campaign, leading to further speculation about potential conflicts of interest and the ethical implications of her financial lies and ties. So, while Harris has advocated for diplomacy in certain cases, she has also supported U.S. military interventions in conflicts such as those in Syria and Afghanistan. And to me, these support for arms sales to countries involved in controversial wars, such as Saudi Arabia's military intervention in Yemen, raises big concerns to me, okay? The U.S. involvement in these conflicts has really exacerbated civilian suffering and led to a humanitarian crisis. And her support for military aid and weapons sales to these countries seems pretty complicit in actions that have led to mass civilian casualties, which is all I care about, okay? I think this is ethically problematic. And like many U.S. politicians, she voted in favor of large military budgets. Big surprise, which further expanded the U.S. military-industrial complex, which you guys know I'm very against. I argued that continued investment in this military power at the expense of our social programs raises huge ethical awareness about prioritizing war and defense over domestic welfare and the welfare of our people in education and healthcare. But yet she goes on there saying that she cares about healthcare. This emphasis on military strength rather than prioritizing peace-building initiatives really contributes to a global system that I see as perpetuating war for economic gain. Then again, during the Obama administration, which she was a huge vocal supporter, the U.S. expanded its drone warfare program, which they conducted strikes in countries like Pakistan, Yemen, where else? Somalia, a couple others. And these drone strikes have been criticized for their ethical implications due to all of these casualties and then the secrecy surrounding these operations, guys. Yeah, I get it. Like, she wasn't directly complicit in this drone policy, but as a member of the Senate and later as vice president, her support of the administration's military actions is seen as an ethical issue, okay? Especially given the unintended consequences of the drone warfare on the civilian populations. Now, on the domestic front, there are questions about this ethical balance between supporting veterans and approving large-scale military spending. She supported veteran benefits, but then, and the healthcare, yet the juxtaposition of these two policies with the broader funding of the military operations, which create more veterans in need of these services and care, presents like a little ethical conundrum, right? It's like, And this duality, where they're supporting veterans but also contributing to these policies that escalate war, it doesn't make sense to me at all. It makes zero sense, right? Okay. And I'm sure it doesn't make sense to our U.S. soldiers either in these conflict zones. And in the spiritual sense, war conflicts with the higher principles of peace, compassion, and unity, which you guys all know I'm for. And leaders who support policies and fuel war and violence without looking at all the other avenues of peace and diplomacy first, that's wrong for me, okay? And then these decisions tied to this global power and dynamics from the economic interests that she's involved with create suffering for so many individuals, and it challenges the ethical leadership and maintaining balance between power and peace, okay? So, like many politicians in the U.S., Kamala has formed relationships with wealthy elites and their major donors. Her ties to corporate interests, especially in Silicon Valley, have drawn criticism from those who believe that she may be too aligned with these big money interests. I think that's another problem. She receives significant campaign contributions from tech giants like Facebook, Google, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, anybody? Critics argue that these companies have engaged in like we all know, in ethically questionable practices such as data privacy violations and running total monopolies, which conflict with the public interest. And her reluctance to more aggressively pursue these actions against these kinds of companies during her time as Attorney General and later as a senator has really led me to question her independence from these corporate elites. So Kamala Harris has also received substantial campaign donations from Wall Street and the finance industry elites. Some critics even say that her relationships with these donors may have influenced her more moderate stance on banking regulation and on financial reform, particularly during and after the 2008 financial crisis. Wall Street donations, you combine that with her controversial decision not to prosecute Steve Mnuchin's One West Bank for predatory foreclosure practice, really leads me to believe her choices could be swayed by wealthy, powerful interests, and that really scares me. So let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I'm not for either candidate. Honestly, if I were you, I wouldn't vote for anybody. If we all got up and didn't vote, we may have a different situation happening. She's also got ties with President Bill Clinton, and we all know the controversy surrounding his administration's policies. His 1994 crime bill, which affected minority communities, her ongoing association with people like the Clintons, their legacies, who really are deeply flawed, raises so many questions to me about her willingness to distance herself from these politically convenient people that contribute to her. And I think that shows that she's an ethically problematic individual. If I was running for president, you could not give me enough money in the world to go against what I believed in and to hurt my own people. So that just makes you think. Let me know what you guys think.